Happy New Year. We are back online, and I want to talk about adaptivity and innovation and change during crises where you feel paralyzed, you feel like all of your attention is going one way, and you feel a lot of uncertainty, and you're not really sure which way to move. Should you go into wait and see mode, or should you go into preparation mode? And the truth is, it's actually in these times of uncertainty where a lot of people make some pretty big changes. Maybe if they don't make a big announcement about it, but they do make pretty big changes in their lives. I mean, I think a lot of us can think back to COVID-19 pandemic and the amount of folks that we learned about moving out of state, leaving city life for rural lifestyles, or leaving the country altogether, right? And that's not even including, job changes, like complete sector changes, maybe going back and getting certified for something online and completely changing directions. And, I will even say for me, my example, I moved to Europe during, I want to say I applied for the job that I have now in France. I applied for it in 2022. So this was like at the heat of what was going on with Ukraine and with Russia. And I remember, being accepted for the role and accepting the offer. And one of my really good friends in Washington was like, Europe is a mess right now. Why would you go to Europe? Um, and they're not wrong, but I also couldn't live a life where I was just constantly in a waiting, holding period to see. I mean, life is still happening. So, knock on wood, that that conflict will be resolved soon. And granted, yes, I'm not in Eastern Europe or in Russia, but still, there was that trepidation about even coming to the region at all. And another example is, um, I have a sister who's moving to Uganda. And at this time, we have elections in Uganda. It's a pretty sensitive time. But instead of delaying her move completely, she just said, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move to next door, Nairobi, Kenya. I'll be an hour flight away. I'll just be there with my family until we feel like it's a good time after elections to go into Uganda. She didn't wait. She's just found a way around it. She just found a way to leap around the situation. Um, and even, there's another example I really like. So it's an old school example going back to World War II, but I love fashion. I never forget this example. So Pierre Cardin is one of the French haute couture greats, right? Um, and was he was I want to say he was working with the Red Cross in Vichy in France during World War II. I think he was working as a volunteer or something, but I think he was working as with a seamstress, maybe as an apprentice. And he, during that crisis, put himself in a position where he could gain certain skill sets and sort of prepare to go to Paris after the war. He didn't know what was going to happen. It was not certain to him what was going to happen with France and World War II. But instead of going into that wait and see period of like, I'm not going to make any move because I don't know yet what's going to happen, in the meantime, I said, okay, you know what? This is my situation. Not much I can do. Can't really be in Paris right now. But what I can do is, at least in the meantime, gain the skill sets of the area that I want to move into, right? So let me go ahead and work with a seamstress. Let me get those sewing skills. And, I think he was working on uniforms. Okay, cool. I'm getting the experience I can get. All is for naught. This time, this holding period, this waiting period, the wait and see period, I don't know, uncertainty, etc. Instead of being paralyzed, he just found a way to still gain the skill sets that he needed for this, preparing for a potential, life after World War II, right? Post-war life. And when the war ended, he had the right skill sets and experience to go to Paris and, work under some amazing fashion houses, and then eventually start his own fashion label. So I think I think what is really necessary in these times, right now we have access to the world's news everywhere all the time, right? Every global village, we know exactly what's happening. Um, Everything is taking our attention. Everything is making us feel like this is not a good time to make a move. Maybe I should just wait. No, this is actually your time to still make moves, because you know what? Despite what's happening in the news, life is still happening. Your life is still happening. You see, time didn't stop because of World War II, because of COVID, because of the war in Ukraine, because of what's happening in the Americas right now, because of certain people being in office, or because of Brexit, or life isn't stopping. It's not stopping. Time is still going. So I suggest to you to really consider how you can regain your attention, right? Regain your focus, put that same energy into changes that you want to see in your life, innovations you want to implement into your life. Because if you're not being paid as a political analyst right now, if you're not on a payroll of any Ministry of Foreign Affairs, what's going on in the news, unless you are actually living in the country where things are actually happening. I'm not saying, don't prepare or don't have empathy, but I am saying do not paralyze yourself. Um, do not put your life on pause, because time is still moving anyway. And definitely understand that sometimes this is the best time to make changes, regardless. Yeah, it's not a time to pause. It's not a time to have all your attention and your efforts be on an issue that you actually really don't have any control over. Look, unless you are a leader of a G7 nation, or you are on a UN Security Council, and you can make a phone call and end things, or you can push a red button and end things, you need to regain your focus, regain your power, and you need to focus on what you can do and stop finding excuses as to why you can't do something. There's no wait and see. There's no wait and see, because time is not waiting for you. So move like Pierre Cardin, prepare yourself. I moved to Europe, yes, during the war in Ukraine. And, my sister she made her move to East Africa even during contentious elections. She just found a workaround. And hey, life is not waiting for us. Time is not waiting for us. So I'm encouraging you, 2026, regardless of anything going on in the news, regain your focus. Don't pause. Don't wait. Keep a momentum. And if anyone wants to talk to me about this, I have my coaching calls open, and yeah, ready to help you make the decisions that you need to make with clarity and with confidence.